Hello everyone, and welcome to another 8.5 by 11 scrapbook layout that I am creating for my Family 2023 memory book. I'm a little bit excited because I'm up to doing August pages, and you can probably see from the photos I've got in front of me that August was a pretty special month. I celebrated my birthday. I went to a paper expo, Paperific, which we have here in Melbourne. Happened to be on my birthday, and no, these are not all the supplies that I bought just for myself. I went with some other friends and this was our haul at the end of the day, and I got a new car. So I'm pretty excited to be putting these photos and memories into my 2023 album. So what I was thinking was that I was going to bring in some mix-in papers to do these, and I'm going to bring in a whole heap of retired stamp sets. These are stamp sets that I keep because they have a lot of word art that can be fairly generic to go across family album pages and travel pages and the like, and I just think I'll be able to utilize these on this page as well as the brand new design elements. I love this crackle, and I think I'm going to use this on the page as well as a link to the creative design team's 8.5 by 11 sketchbook. As you probably know, I've been using this fairly consistently throughout this 2023 album, and I'm going to use this one here with the diagonals, but I'm going to switch it up a little bit because you can see there are two diagonal pieces along here. I think I'm going to use two pattern papers because the mix-ins are going to lend themselves well to that. I've had a little bit of a dry fit with them, and I think I like where I'm going with this one. And where all these butterflies are will be some of these word art items. So I'm just going to set all these stamp sets aside, and I'll bring those in when I need them. I know this looks like a lot of stamp sets for just two 8.5 by 11 pieces, but I'm thinking I'm going to pick out a couple of images from each, or maybe just one image from each, so that I can use them on these layouts. And because my brand new car is this grey colour, I'm thinking this piece here from the mix-ins will work really, really well. And the other side is a stripe, but it's a little bit too strong. And then I'm going to use this sort of speckle piece as the other side. So I'm thinking I'll just visualize this and put it on a little bit of an angle. And then I'm going to grab the photos that are going on this left page and then spread them out across the page like this. And I really like how these two pieces play well together. So I'm going to trim these down to both 8.5 by 11 pieces, and then I'm going to cut them on a diagonal. I've trimmed these two pieces down to 8.5 by 11 inches, and I should have known better to have that wishful thinking that it would fit inside the trimmer. So I am going to bring my ruler out just to draw a pencil line. I'm going to use my T ruler, and the good thing about the T ruler is that it is longer than 12 inches. It's about 15 inches long, I think, or it could be a little bit longer, but it will fit from one corner to another so that I can draw a pencil line, and I'll be able to cut that out with my scissors. And then I need to do the same thing for the other side now. So all I need to do is just cut this in half with my scissors. Now, some people stress about doing something like this because, I don't know about you, but I don't often follow the exact line. Sometimes I might go off just a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because when it's down on the page and I've got my photos on top, no one's going to see that that's not a perfect cut. But I am also going to bring in a zip strip to put between these two pieces. So you'll see that in a moment. And then I'm going to do another little bit of a dry fit. And when I was doing my cutting, I didn't really pay attention to which way I did my diagonal cut. So basically, I should have cut from this corner to match the sketch. But that's okay. I can put this around the other way and it will all work just fine. These two pieces here, I'll just move my photos out of the way. So that's something you want to pay attention to, and not be like me and just get in there and start cutting straight away and not think about the orientation of the paper. But no one's going to know which way the original sketch is. So I'm basically flipping the sketch, I suppose, to do it this way. And then my two other pieces will fit across the page like this. So I'm just going to put my photos back over top of my pieces here and see if this is how I like the pieces running, or if I want to have the black on the inside and the light on the outside. So I'm just stepping back and having a look at that before I actually commit. And I think I actually like the black on the inside part, or the black pattern on the inside part of this. This is going to be a spot for some journaling, and I'm going to add some more journaling on this side because this one is all about one day. That was my actual birthday. And then what I think I'm going to do is have a little bit of this gingham zip strip peeking out, and it doesn't quite go right to the end, but I'm going to fix that by trimming some off and hiding that behind these photos. I only want a small piece of that poking out. I don't want the whole 1/2 inch. And in case you're wondering, this zip strip is from the Home for Christmas pack, which is a lovely set of traditional Christmas papers and colours that is currently available in the September-October catalogue. And I think that looks quite nice. And I'm going to go away and adhere all this down, and I'll show you the trick with the zip strip when I come back. I've adhered my 2 triangles down, and you can see I didn't quite get the cutting exact, but that's okay because I am going to put this zip strip along the edge here, and I'm going to tuck this under this piece of black pattern paper here that's got the flex on it, but this zip strip doesn't quite fit all the way, so I've roughly positioned where my photos are going to go, and I know that I can put this down here and just snip a little bit off so that I can then extend it from both ends. So I'm just going to take my photos away and bring in my tape runner, and I'll just turn this around to make it a little bit easier for myself. And when I put this down, I'm going to tuck this underneath, and that's going to cover any discrepancies that I've got. And I also want to do it so that I've got this solid black line here up against the edge of my pattern paper, and then the solid black line is on the outside from this gingham check as well. And then I can do exactly the same thing to the bottom part. And this will look like it runs all the way through because my photo is then going to be placed over top. So I just need to hang this a little bit off the edge. I have put adhesive down in this corner here, but I haven't put it up against this section. So if you're ever working on anything and you know that you're going to be tucking pieces under, especially with embellishments and things like that, just leave a gap. Don't put the adhesive right to the very edge. And then it's a simple case of turning this over and trimming off the edges. And you can see for this one, I'm actually building it back to back with my July page because I built this straight onto White Daisy, and that's what I'm doing for this one. I didn't need to use a fresh piece of White Daisy, and I'm also bearing in mind about how thick the album's going to be because I know that I've got a couple of inserts and flip flaps as well. So where I can conserve some bulk, I am going to do that. Now, because I'm putting photos on here of my new car, I thought I'd do some background stamping here. So I'm going to bring in Design Elements and this crackle stamp here. I think it looks a little bit like tire tracks, so I think that's going to work quite well. And I've decided to do some charcoal stamping with this, but in 2nd generation ink. Now, I know my photos are going to go across here roughly. I'm just going to get my charcoal ink out. So I'll just ink this up. Stamp off. I think the charcoal on its own would be a little bit too heavy. So I think I'm going to have this one going up that way. And I love how that looks up against a photo. I know that I've recently used this on another video that I just did recently on doing a title page in a grid format. And I really love this stamp image. So I know that I'm going to be using that again and again. So I'm just going to have a little bit coming out from the side here. And then I want to put some up in this corner. So I'm just going to extend this one a little bit. I'm going to rotate it and have it just here like so. And then I'm going to bring in this little row of dots here. That's from a Stamp of the Month from 2019 in March. So I've had this in my stash for a while. I love all of these sayings. So I'm going to use that again just to do some inking up to create a little bit more interest going across this top edge, and I'm going to repeat that on the right side as well. And then I can adhere my photos down, and I need to create a little text box here as well. So I'm looking at this stamp set and it's got a little journal box here, and it says these are the moments I want to remember, and I'm thinking that might work really well if I stamp this on a piece of white daisy and put that there for this page. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just wondering if I'll bring in a bit of this scrap to stamp on it, but it's a bit too much same onto same. So I think what I'll do is create one out of white daisy. And now I'm just trying to decide if I'll stamp it with charcoal or black ink. And I think I'm going to try it with charcoal. If I don't like the look of the charcoal, I can always turn this over and stamp it in black. You want to make sure that you get plenty of ink on this, and it will actually fit this way. So I'm going to go up tight into this corner, so I only have to trim 2 edges, and then just let the ink soak into the paper. And I really love how that looks. I'm not going to stamp this in black because my journaling is going to be in black. So I'm going to leave that with the charcoal. And I think I'm going to use some of the images on this once I get everything adhered down. So I'm going to trim this down and adhere my photos. And then I'm going to do some additional stamping onto this layout, direct onto the page. I've decided that I wanted to put that stamp image on the right page because this is the day that I spent with friends at the craft show and then my family in the evening for my birthday. But I'm going to use this same stamp image over here, but I'm going to mask this area off so that I only get this part here to do the journaling about the car. So what I need to do is create a mask. Now I've got my post-it note down here, but before I do any inking at all, I'm going to make sure that I clean off my stamp. I don't want any of the ink to transfer. And then I'm going to stamp it off a few times just to make sure that it is free of ink. And then to make my mask, I'm going to bring in my lightest ink and just ink up that top section here because this is the area that I want to cut out. And stamp that up towards the top here so that I can trim out this piece here. I want to make sure I trim it in close enough so the outside part of that frame will still stamp. I want this to fit inside that outside line. And I'm just going to bring in the white daisy ink and then I'm going to stamp this up again with charcoal ink so that it matches the right page. And I can remove my mask. And then stamp this down, and if I've done this all correctly, none of that area here is going to stamp up because I masked that off perfectly. That looks really good. I love the charcoal ink. It's not as solid as the black, and sometimes it's just the touch that you need. So I think I'm going to combine This Happened and Date from this set, which is the It's the Good Things mini album, which was another special. And I love that I can combine a whole heap of different stamp sets to create my own journal card. I think the date's going to go underneath. So I'm just going to ink this up, stamp that down, and then do the date underneath that. And I am going fairly monochromatic with my colours here with the greys and the blacks. There's a lot of red in the photos, so I think that just makes them pop. And then I'm going to put this down here, and then I think I'm going to look for a little heart to put in between there. Maybe this little open heart would work quite well. Yep, I think that works. So I'm just going to ink this one up and put that in the middle here. And now I've created my very own journal card from this one element here. I've still got my lines to do my journaling on, but I was able to customize this piece here just with some simple masking. So I love that we can do that with our stamp sets. And this is one of the reasons why I keep this sort of a stamp set, because I love that I can manipulate it and make exactly what I need. So I'm going to trim this down, put it on the page, and then I'll be back to do some more stamping. For the month, I'm going to do that with black ink. And once again, I'm using the Havana Alphabet. I'm going to bring this down close to me so that I can try and get this all lined up. I'm bringing in my black ink and I'm going to start and work backwards. So let's hope I can get all the letters right here. So I'm just going to ink this up and stamp it direct to page and stamp up August. It's a bit harder when you're doing things on camera to actually line things up, and also while you're talking on camera to get all the letters in the correct order. I I know I've talked about this alphabet before, and I'll check to see if it's still available. I really love it. It's got such a good font, and with little details, with the lines and everything in there, it just works so well, and you don't have to worry about stamping in a perfectly straight line because the letters are all different sizes. And I also love that I've kept it consistent throughout all the pages for each month, and they're all stamped in this font. So that's just a bit of consistency throughout the entire album, which I think works really, really well. You might notice a few changes to my layout. I actually didn't press record. I thought I was recording all the stamping that I was doing, and when I went to edit my video today, I realized that that whole portion of the recording wasn't there. So now you get to see the end result, unfortunately, without me doing the stamping. There's one other thing you might notice. Because I've looked at this the next day, I've changed things around a little bit. So you'll see I've swapped things over. Originally, I had my pages like this with the dark pattern going across the middle. And when I looked at it today, I decided that I wanted to swap things around. So what I had to do, because I had done this back to back, was take this section off, and I've put that onto a new white base. And I really do prefer this with this piece in the middle. And I'm looking at my stamping, and I'm going to have to add a little bit here. But before I do that, I'll just go through the stamp sets that I've used. You know, I've used this Design Elements for the stamping on here. So I'm going to get this back out so that I can add a little bit more texture to these areas here where it would normally go across the two pages. And I've used this stamp set to do the journal cards, which you have seen, but I've also done some stamping with this little heart here. And I brought in the Colorista pencils, and what I've done is used fiery red and also this chestnut brown, and I've colored with the red, and then I've gone over top with the chestnut brown just on the bottom sections of these hearts to give it a little bit of light and shade. If I bring this up, you can see that the bottom part of this heart is darker than the top. It's quite subtle, but it helps deepen the red of this pencil, and I wanted to make that a bit of a richer red. So the browns will do that. Because these pencils are blendable, you can play around with the colors and deepen them. You can obviously do light green with dark green, but bringing in brown on some of the colors will deepen the strength of it. Just suggest having a play with them on some scratch piece of paper first before you actually do that on the project. So I need to get this one out again so I can stamp across here a little bit. When I was looking through my stash of stamps, I was actually looking for a car to put on here because I wanted an embellishment with that on here, but I couldn't find a suitable image for that. But I did find this Happy Street with this one. So I decided that looked really good tucked in there. It's just stamped on black ink and trimmed out and tucked under. And this one here, it's the Little Things mini album. I've used Love This. So that's over this side here. And I've also used Happy Times from the Hello Life Scrapbooking from National Stamping Month, which was a few years ago. And we are currently having a National Stamping Month celebration right now for September. So I'll put a link to that below. There's some really lovely stamp sets and some very clever layered stencils. So I'll put that link there so that you can go and check them out. I've stamped Something About Today, and I've put that there. I've actually stamped that in black on a piece of this pattern paper here from the Mix-Ins just to give it a little bit more texture, and I've popped that up on some foam tape. And this is a really old stamp set, True to Life. I've stamped 2 of these tags in charcoal, and I've just put them down behind each other and finished them off with some clear sparkles. And I've also used Awesome to put onto here as well. Now, the reason why I'm showing you all of these stamp sets, and I know at the beginning of the video I had a few more out, but when I'm thinking about what stamps to keep and what stamps to put in my sale box, I look at what I can use for everyday life sort of scrapbooking. I look at these and think of little icons and things that I can use on other layouts. All of these little tabs and tags and little journal spots that you can do, all these sort of things I know that I can use over and over again on my scrapbook layouts and add just little touches that finish off everything and bring the whole layout together. I'll just take the Versamat away so you can see this a little bit better and just make sure I've got everything in view here. I think adding the extra depth actually works really, really well on this page because I've got this dark paper, the black paper on the outside. It just brings that into the central part of the layout. I quite like that I forgot to do the second generation, and that made me bring in the extra little pieces of stamping. So here's my August layout all done, except for my journaling, which I'm going to add in later. I'm loving how this monochromatic layout has come together, just with the little touches of red to bring in the reds from the photos. As always, I'll have a link to everything below, as well as a link to the Creative Design Team 31 Days of Christmas Card event that will be kicking off on 1st of October. Registrations are open now. If you missed out last year, you can go and register for that one at a 40% discount, and you'll be able to watch that immediately. And then all our videos will start from October 1st. There will be a video each day, and we'll have lots of inspiration for you to get a start on your Christmas cards. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting, and bye for now.